The Beast of Yucca Flats. This is truly a classic B-movie. I first heard about this one quite some time ago. It stars Tor Johnson, who most people would recognize from Plan 9 from Outer Space, the famous Ed Wood bad movie, and is written and directed, I believe, and also voiceovered by Coleman Francis, who has been on the IMDb Bottom 100 with Red Zone Cuba. And his films are just awful. He just doesn't know how to make a movie, and this is yet another one of those. A lot of people mention this one as sort of a dark horse candidate for, like, worst movie of all time. A lot of times when people argue, like, between Manos or Plan 9, in the sense of, like, old classic worst movies of all time, Beast of Yucca Flats is always in there. It's in that conversation, and I've never watched this one all the way through before, and it is mighty bad. Trying to think what's up here. Tor Johnson, who is not a very good actor. He is a very big, very bald guy. And in this, he plays a renowned scientist. The opening sequence of this movie presents the audience with Tor Johnson as a Soviet expatriate who's turning over to the United States to give us secrets about superweapons. The dialogue... There is no real dialogue in this movie. Because they didn't do any sound when they filmed it, everything is done after the fact, so nobody actually speaks on screen. They either have their head turned or it's from off screen, like a narrator that's in it a lot. Which, they did the same thing with Creeping Terror, if I remember correctly. It's just a really amateur mistake. Yeah, so that's pretty bad. But anyway, Tor Johnson plays this Russian guy who's got a super secret. It seems alluded that it's about a Russian space program. To get to the moon, because there's dialogue, or there's a line about flag on the moon, how did it get there, or something like that.
Flag on the moon. How did it get there?
It comes out of nowhere, and I guess that's what they're alluding to. Keep in mind, this is the early 60s. This is before we got up there. So yeah, Tor Johnson is trying to get to, like, a secret base somewhere and is being pursued. And he gets away from his pursuers and starts running, and then runs into, like, nuclear testing grounds, and then they like fire off a bomb or whatever, and he gets turned into a super monster, which is more accurate. You know, Tor Johnson as a super monster is way more believable than Tor Johnson as anything else. So after this happens, we know that there's a super monster out there, and then he just kind of starts attacking people on the side of the highway. And that's where our movie sort of happens, is Tor Johnson just sort of starts killing people. None of the deaths are very good. He's very slow. But eventually people realize that he's out there, and some dude is going out with a plane to try and shoot him down. And he starts going after the wrong guy. You have a mistaken identity thing with a dude trying to hunt down an innocent man from a plane. If that sounds familiar, that's because it's a movie called North by Northwest by Alfred Hitchcock. So yeah, there's like a shot taken straight out of North by Northwest, which is really embarrassing for this really crappy movie. Trying to think what else happens here. All the dialogue being said from off-screen or through narration is so distracting. Mostly because the narration is really, really bad and doesn't really say complete sentences. Like, it'll say, like, fragments or ideas of sentences. I'll definitely put in some clips of this because it really is ludicrous.
Mr. Jaworski, get in the car.
I'm off camera, but just do as I say.
Flag on the moon. How did it get there?
These are all just random sentences, folks.
Vacation time. Man and wife. Unaware of scientific progress.
But they know they need a new dishwasher.
Officer,
Yeah?
there's a man dead. Back down the road.
Dead. How far down?
Couple miles, maybe more. Laying behind his car. Wow. Looks like he's been choked.
Real, actual dialogue.
Joe Dobson.
Bitter over missing breakfast.
Caught in the wheels of progress.
Having trouble logging onto the information superhighway.
I'm still trying to figure out that flag on the moon thing.
Better come with me. Trouble up the road. Murder. Be right down.
I'm glad I can talk to you so openly.
Oh, flag on the moon, too, by the way.
and that's supposed to get the story going along. It feels like they just needed to put dialogue in places so that it wasn't just silence for extended periods of time. Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's also a couple kids wandering around in the desert that Tor chases around a bit. Yeah, there's not much going on in this movie. Like, it actually doesn't drag on too bad. This is a pretty quick movie. It gets done. And it is super, super bad. And this is one of the better episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000, so I do recommend looking this one up. Tor Johnson is always just a delight to see on screen, because he just can't act. He's just a big dude that I think Ed Wood found in like a wrestling ring somewhere. And he just sort of lugs around and keeps his mouth agape and then wanders. I don't really know what else there's to say about this movie. Coleman Francis, surprisingly, I don't think actually appears in the movie like he did in Red Zone Cuba. But yeah, this is sort of one of his trifecta. It's this and Red Zone Cuba, and I'm trying to remember the name of the other one. I think it's The Skydivers. I haven't seen that one. But I would say Red Zone Cuba is way worse than this. That was really, really difficult to sit through. Because nothing happens in that movie, and nothing ever happens. This movie actually does have like a plot going on. I followed it pretty well, and it was just so poorly made. From a sound editing and a general editing and acting and writing and just everything. Like, the dialogue is even done really bad, like the voiceover and what dialogue there is. Yeah, this really puts a lot of other bad movies to shame as far as like how bad this is. Yeah, this is more watchable than Red Zone Cuba and pretty enjoyable with a riff. Trying to remember if anything else interesting happens in this movie. It really is mostly just you out in the desert following around a person that is either Tor Johnson or looking for Tor Johnson, or like a person just hanging out there. I bet this was a cheap movie to make. There's not anything as far as effects. There's some torn clothes, and then they probably rent that plane. Or they had a friend that had a plane and stole it. Anyway, that's Beast of Yucca Flats. I can so heavily recommend this movie for the MST3K, and you can find it on YouTube. And this is also like one of those movies you have to see as far as like classic bad movies. This is up there. It's up there in the class of like Manos, The Hands of Fate, and Plan 9 from Outer Space. You got to see this one. It's a see to believe it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. I think it's pretty enjoyable. At least with the brief. I think otherwise you'll have to be ready for it. I don't think this one will work too well as a group. If you're like with a group of people that likes watching bad movies, find something more entertaining than this. But otherwise, it's a fun one to sit through.
Coming to this theater soon, The Beast of Yucca Flats. Filmed on the burning hot sands by Yucca Flats. See terror, panic, murder. See the Cardoza and Francis production of The Beast of Yucca Flats. See a man turned killer. See a woman ravaged. See one of the most exciting movies ever made. See The Beast of Yucca Flats. A killer on the loose. Death sweeps across the desert. Panic. A bloodthirsty killer stalks a moonlit desert. See The Beast of Yucca Flats.